Hey, can I request everyone to say sadhu to start the
Sadhu,
discussion session?
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So tatta pattavattam vinibbahujanto peggum pinadi gacchaya kuto saram sadhu sadhu sadhu. Dear friends in the Dhamma, hope everyone is aware of the sutta that we are discussing. It's a wonderful sutta that the Blessed One is using to explain the nature of living being. He is using similes to explain the physical process and mental process of the living being. And if you remember, the physical process or the form was equated to fire. And we discussed when we get close to the body, and when closer you get to the body, you start seeing the finer details of the body. And as a result, what we perceive now as head, hands, legs, etc., are all having just one nature, which is the arising and passing away. And some of you may have experienced that based on your practice. And similarly, the feeling, the connection between the physical process and the mental process. Blessed One provides the simile of a raindrop, where you have a contact of the raindrop coming from the sky to a body of water, to the surface of the water, and then it creates a bubble, creates a reaction. And that reaction, that bubble, will be there for a fraction of a second and then burst off. Similarly, when we have our attention to the body, this arising and passing away nature, that is the contact. And that contact will create some interpretation of what you see. And based on that interpretation, it will be either a pleasant one, unpleasant one, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And they won't last long. They will last only so long as you have that contact. And that contact is usually won't be there for long, because our mind keeps shifting all the time. So when you hear something, when you see something, you have forgotten the pain or the feeling that you have had. So therefore, it is even disappearing faster compared to the disappearance, arising and disappearance of the physical process. And then the next one is the perception, which Buddha says is equivalent to a mirage. We are going behind so many perceptions, and the most fundamental perceptions we have are the permanent perception of permanence, and the perception of pleasure, and the perception of self. And because of those fundamental perceptions, we have a lot of other perceptions relating to the eye, relating to the ear, relating to the nose, tongue, body, mind, etc. and they are never reachable. That is why we keep building houses after houses, because one house is not enough. You find another reason to have another house, and that's just one of a decent example I can give. And you can think of a lot of other examples where although we have these perceptions to satisfy us, that perceptions will never satisfy us, because we are trying to reach a mirage. We are trying to reach the pleasure which is not there. We are trying to reach the permanence which is not there. If the body is like foam and the feeling is like a water bubble, and it simply says they are not things that are lasting long, so you can't expect permanence there. And since it is not lasting long, you invariably will have suffering because of the permanence notion. We try to keep it permanent. By trying to keep something permanent which is naturally impermanent, will create friction, suffering, tiring, and then depression, tension, all sorts of physical and mental agony. And to do these things, to maintain the permanence of the impermanent thing, to make unpleasant thing or the suffering pleasure, and you will have to consider all this as me, mine, and myself, and then do things as much as possible in a very intentional manner. And that is the discussion point we have for this session, and we have been discussing that in the last few sessions as well, since it's a very important topic, which is the intentional activities. There are many terms used to explain it. Some call it fabrications, some call it volitions, and some call it even there is another term which I don't remember straight away. There are many terms explaining these intentional activities, formations. Yeah, so, and this word sankhara, or this intentional activity, is having a huge range, and it says the ability to function. Living beings generally have an ability to function. Even the child who is just born is having that ability to function, is having that sankhara. And anything that happens after that becomes a conditioned thing, because you do things intentionally. You do things because you want it. And therefore, from the ability to function and to the creation of things, we call it conditioned thing. Anything in between is a sankhara. So that is the world we live in. That is what we call development. And we are bogged down in it, and very difficult to come out of it. And it's like a snake biting us from head to toe and toe to head. And there are three main types of sankharas, or the formations. They are bodily, verbal, and mental. And in Madhupindika Sutta, it is trying to show the significance of verbal, the fine verbal volition in our existence. It says, whenever you see something, or whenever an internal faculty gets in touch with an external faculty, it will create a contact, and that will happen in less than a fraction of a second. And that contact will give you a feeling, pleasant to unpleasant to neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And with that feeling, you will generate perception. The perception that you are generating is whether it is good or pleasant, bad, unpleasant, neither pleasant, no unpleasant, which is neither good nor bad. That itself is a perception. And when you have this perception, then the internal activity starts. That perception will lead to the to think about it. They are using the word thinking, but actually the word, the Pali term is yam sanjanati tam vitakketi. Vitakketi means not really thinking. It is a very internal chatter. It is an internal discussion, internal dialogue, internal labeling that goes within. So when you have perception, then you start internal labeling about it. And then that internal labeling will lead to yam vitakketi tam papancheti. That will lead to conceptualization. Okay, this is that, and this is this, and this is how it has to be, and that is how it has to be, and it is good for me, it is bad for me, and etc. Some concepts will start popping up based on your labeling, based on your naming, and based on what one conceptualizes, and the perceptions and categories of objectifications say. And then this process will continue, and it will keep beating you left, right, center without your knowledge, right? So sometimes you may have experience when you are practicing, you keep sitting and some talk is going on in your head, which you don't have control. You know that only after you have stopped your practice, only after the bell goes. And then people say, my practice hasn't gone well. That is totally incorrect, because since you have dug your mental process to that level, now all these conceptualization that are happening. It's happening on its own accord. This is how our mind works. So this is how our mind machine is functioning. So use that has taken you over, and you know that it has happened only after the bell has gone. But if you are able to be mindful when it is happening, then it will stop. So what this does is, it is clearing this garbage that it has built up for such a long time. So once you are aware of it after the practice, if you worry, then you identify yourself with that intellectualization, or that, not intellectualization, that mental process, that conceptualization rather. If you don't worry, and if you just see that it is something that has happened without your knowledge, so why the hell I should worry about it? I didn't do it, it just happened. And if you are ever happy about the fact that you were able to sit 1 hour without any motion, and then those conceptualization have evaporated, and you are emptying the dirty well. So that is what is happening. So if I stop there about this perception and get on with the formations. So with this process, once this conceptualization happens, in general, it will turn into loud words, it will turn into physical activity. And that is what is happening in day-to-day activities, day-to-day world, in our living. But what the Blessed One does is he's using the same labeling and then bringing our attention to the thing that is happening right here, right now. And then you will be not conceptualizing or labeling or daydreaming with the fantasies that come to your mind. And it's the same process, but directed inward. And you start seeing when you're walking the fact that you're walking, and you start seeing the fact that you're sitting and observing breath. Or if you bring your attention to anything else that you do, maybe eating, maybe drinking, maybe urinating, maybe defecating, maybe talking to somebody, anything, then still the same thing. You will be labeling those things, and no conceptualization is happening outside. You will not just label, you will see more details of what you bring your attention to. So when that happens, because your normal internal chatter is not happening, it is not going outward, and your physical formations, physical fabrications are limited to what you are doing, and the verbal volition, verbal formations are also limited, and that is also to exactly what you are doing now. And when you limit these two volitions in this manner, starting with the verbal volition, what happens is the mental volitions which have been fueling this verbal and physical activities will not stand a chance, and it will not be able to establish itself. So therefore, what it does is it is creating a lot of attractive, let me say, perceptions, attractive phenomena for the person who is practicing well. His attention is now, his attention is here. He's labeling the very same thing. He's seeing more details. So then the mind will say it is so cool, and it will make you feel so much of bliss. And that again is a way that our perception, even when we are practicing, not our perception, our formations, even when we are practicing, even when we have some management of verbal and physical formations, mental formations will take the upper hand, and it will give the happiness of the mind, the relaxation of the mind will be manifested physically. Not it is really manifested physically. You are made to feel that it is manifested physically, and that is called rapture. And those raptures are mental formations, mind fabrications. They're not actual things happening, but you feel so. But although I'm saying that they are not actually happening, in some cases, people get so much indulged in it, and it can go to physical stages as well. And I have seen people just waving their heads and moving from side to side, and some people are raising hands, doing all sorts of things when you are identifying yourself with those rapturous situations. But having said that, it is not a fault of the person. It is how the mind works. It is the nature. And then it is the duty of the teacher to monitor it very carefully, to monitor it very closely, and then understand what's happening, and give necessary instructions when it is necessary. There is no right way, there is no right time. It is a matter of understanding. It is the discussion of the student and the teacher that will pave the way to understand and direct it in the right direction. So when that mental formations are hammering us in this manner, we will have to be very patient, and then everyone will have to be appreciated of the fact that things are going in the right direction, but we just keep an eye about it. And then if you are able to go beyond this rapturous situation, and you may be able to just without those rapturous situations, you may be able to just be with your body with so much of fancy feeling, so much of bliss, and then that will lead to other defilements, sub-defilements, and such as illumination, knowledge, rapture and happiness, rapturous happiness rather, tranquility, bliss, resolution into mundane qualities, excessive exertion, rigid mindfulness, and equanimity and magnetic attachment, and things like that will happen. And we discussed this in detail in the previous session, so I'm not going to take them once again here. So we are going a bit further from here. When you go beyond this upakilesha, the higher defilements, then you will be able to see how mental volitions are creating situations where you may feel that your practice is not going well. And one such situation is that you may realize, although you are practicing so well, although your attention is, although your practice is only on mindfulness, and you will see whenever you do something, your mind is wandering to many, many things, and you can see the entire process where the mind is taking you, or you may be able to observe how your eye functions. And when there are so many things, when you open your eyes and you exactly see what your eye takes out of all those options, and you also know why it takes that particular object instead of other object, and then you also know once that object is taken, what sort of mental process is happening. And when you see this entire physical and mental operation, sometimes you may feel this is the mental volition. So these are the things that are happening. So you haven't done anything, but the mind is at work. Mind is ordering the eye to see that particular object, and you know why that order has come, because of this particular reason. Okay, that woman is attractive, or I don't like that person, or she's my mother, or he's my friend, and like that some reasoning also you are aware. And all these are mental things that are happening, and the mental intentional activities that are happening. You see all these intentional activities. So the Blessed One says, if someone sees these internal activities happening, and that is not just mindfulness, and that is a mindfulness that did not exist before Buddha, and he called it Dhammanupassana, or the mindfulness about the phenomena, or some call it even the mindfulness of the mind objects. So these are mind objects, these are mind processing that is happening. So that is the next layer of mental volitions. The physical volitions are at bay now. Verbal volitions are at bay. even when you are in your day-to-day life, because your practice is going so well. But you see, your mind is like devil's workshop, and that is because you have reached that level of mental process, and you are seeing how the mind is working. And it is, I'm just saying, given one example where I meets an I object, and then the process is happening. The Blessed One says, not only that, all your hindrances will come up again. All your sense pleasure, ill will, sloth and torpor, worry and agitation, and the skeptical doubts, all these things will come up, and you will see the process. They come up and they stay for some time, and they gradually fade away. And you have, when you are practicing or when you are living normally in your life, maybe when you are watching a TV, you feel so many things are happening in the mind. You hear so many things, and you know you are talking to somebody. There are a lot of activities happening. In other words, what I'm saying is, you can see the physical process working, you can see the mental process working. Many things are happening. You are aware. So why you are aware is because mental process has been dug out, and then you see how it is working. So when it comes to this stage, it is very important to have a teacher, because your mind is working at a faster rate than the speed of the light. It's so fast. Since you have not experienced that fast activity, some people may get panic. Some people may get panic attacks. Some people may wonder what's happening to me, and therefore, when those things are happening, it is very important to have discussion. And in the session on Sunday with the Sinhala group in Australia, and someone said, my mindfulness is like a kottu roti, right? So many things are happening, and is simply observing, and sometimes it is unbearable. Sometimes it feels, what I am doing here. So it will go to that stage. So when it goes to that stage, it simply says your practice is going so well, and you are going beyond your physical process and mental process, and you are digging out all the garbage that has been hidden in our systems for so many eons of existence. Now they are getting cleared, right? So that is what that we see in Dhammanupassana and Chittanupassana, being mindful of the mind and being mindful of the phenomena, or being mindful of the mind object. What basically happens is, you observe this mental volitions, and there is, for this volition, a very famous saying of the Buddha. He says, Anichavata Sankara. Anichavata Sankara means all conditioned things are impermanent, right? So when you are mindful, although we theoretically know that all conditioned things are mindful, we haven't experienced it. So from the practice, what we do is experiencing that. Have you experienced that is, when you are asked to observe inhalation and exhalation, and if you really see inhalation, there what you simply see, on the other hand, the exhalation has become impermanent. And if you observe exhalation, the other side of it is that inhalation has become impermanent. So continuation of observing inhalation and exhalation will gradually teach the mind that things are not there forever. And that message is gradually passed on when you continuously practice. Those who expect that these two must be there all the time, then they will not be able to practice because they are so much engrossed in the notion of permanence. And that requires a lot of mental preparation. And in Buddhism, we have that mental preparation because we usually, even in our schools, they talk about impermanence. Whereas maybe other denominations, they very rarely talk about impermanence. They make something permanent, if not in this world. They make something permanent in the clouds or above the clouds. In Buddhism, there is nothing as such. What it simply says is, this is impermanent, and in the practice, mind is being tested to see whether you are patient with impermanence. So if you see inhalation in full, then you have accepted without your knowledge that the exhalation is not there. Similarly, the other way around. And when you continue and when it gets deeper, you will be able to get more and more close to this inhalation and exhalation process. You will start seeing the beginning of inhalation. So when you see the beginning of inhalation, there, what you simply see is the middle is not there and the end is not there. They have become impermanent already, and vice versa. When you see the middle, the beginning has become impermanent and end has become impermanent. And if you see the end, the beginning and the middle is impermanent. And that is why you see the end. And for some people, when this happens, they can't just fathom it. They can't just bear it up. They start breathing hard. They take a very deep breath. But if you, and initially, of course, that will happen. But when you get closer, and when you do it over and over again, you will get used to this. And then when the inhalation beginning is there, you will simply be with the beginning. And then it will naturally go to the middle and you have forgotten the beginning. And you are not worrying about the end as well. And it will go to the end. Then you will be aware of that. And the mind has accepted the fact that the beginning has finished and the middle has also passed. And for them to happen, it does not take this time I'm talking about. It is happening so fast. And because nothing is impermanent, it cannot be there for long. Right? So you get used to this fast, impermanent nature when you continuously practice. Similarly, in walking, when you see the right foot and the left foot is impermanent. And when you see the left, right is impermanent. And when you see the lifting, moving and placing is impermanent. And when you see the moving, lifting and placing has become impermanent. And when you keep on doing these things, when you get closer and closer, you start seeing more and more fragments of this process. And when you see the fragments, you still continue to observe it rather than trying to patch up, to bind the fragments together. And then you get more closer to the object and these fragments become even finer. And then finally what you see is, it is not just leg is, one leg is moving and the other leg is static. But these two legs are working in such a harmony that there is no point where you can really observe every time both the legs are moving, and you just simply let it happen. And every time there is nothing, a particular thing that you can observe in one leg. And it's so fast, so quick, it is rotating, it is turning. Similarly in the breath. Similarly in the breath, you see, although we have observed only at the entrance of the nostril or the tummy or the chest, whatever, when you get closer and closer, you see it is affecting your nostrils, it is affecting your chest, it is affecting your tummy. And then when you observe inhalation on one side, and at the same time exhalation is happening, while the exhalation is happening, the next inhalation is ready. So you get more and more close to the entire process, not just outside breath coming, the breath that is happening inside as well. So you start seeing more inside. Then since you are with the breath, you know, breath is going to each and every, breath is affecting each and every cell of our body. You start feeling each and every cell of our body. When you start feeling each and every cell of our body, then you see that you don't feel that there is a body as such, but you will see a massive beehive inside. It's like so much bubbling up, so much tiny particles at work in our body. So when you get closer in this manner, gradually you will see only appearing and disappearing. So when you see appearing and disappearing, and if you don't get up and go and have a drink, or if you don't open your eyes and see what is happening, if you don't get scared saying that so many ants on my body or so many worms are on my body, if you just let it happen, then you are accepting impermanence. There are people who experiences these things, and when they experience this, they feel that all the time. They feel when they go to bed, the entire body is like, you know, an ant hill. So many ants, crawling in the body, inside the body. And some people feel that they are having hypertension. Some people feel they are having a lot of anxiety. That is because the mind has gone so much into the physicality. And since mind is also so fine-tuned now, it can see this physicality, and it can see this entire process happening, where you experience this notion of impermanence now. So if you are able to observe them without questioning, with a smile, without being afraid, without being suspicious about it, initially, of course, this will happen. But once the reports have been cleared, and if someone has the courage, okay, let whatever happens happen, I don't give a damn, I will simply observe, then after that he is not doing any being mindful of the body, he is not being mindful of the feeling, he is not mindful of the mind, he is not mindful of the phenomena. He is mindful of the impermanence now. He is allowing this appearing and disappearing to continue. So it is mindfulness of impermanence. In Pali, we call it aniccanupassi. There is nothing to particularly hold and observe, but you simply see the appearing and disappearing of everything. But if someone gives, when they give the report, I am seeing appearing and disappearing of things, then we will simply know that he has listened to a talk or he has read it somewhere and he is giving this report. For someone to say that he is seeing appearing and disappearing, there is a process, physical process that is observing. It may be physical or it may be feelings, it may be mental, it may be mind objects, no matter what. Blessed One has explained that this phenomena will happen at any of these four foundations. So if that happens, that is the observation of impermanence. That is the being mindfulness of the impermanence. And that is exactly what is given in science. When the matter is fragmented, get closer, and if you go to tiny areas of the matter, more you divide it, more impermanent it becomes. Initially, we build with concrete, we build with platinums, and we try to make it permanent. But they themselves says matter is consisting of atoms, which is nucleus, electrons, neutrons, and protons. And when you go deeper and deeper, they are just movements only, and there is no solidity. So in quantum physics, it says one can never specify its state, such as its simultaneous locations and velocity with complete certainty. So that is the very same thing the Blessed One said 2,600 years ago without any equipment. The only equipment he had was his capacity to observe and his own body, which we have. And he therefore told us, you can also do this. Simply sit and go to a forest or under a foot of a tree or an empty hut and just close your eyes, observe your body, or just select a walking path, keep walking. Gradually, you will become closer and closer and closer to this universe, which is called the physical process, human physical process. When you get close to this universe, you can see what is explaining in quantum physics. And when you actually really see that physical and mental process of ourselves, you know the speed that is explained in science is wrong, because things are happening in such a speed and we have no time to see. And we see there are no nouns in the world. Everything becomes a word, a verb, when your attention is sharp. So this is what Buddha said, Sabbe Sankhara Anicca. All ability to functions or conditioned things, anything in this range is impermanent. You can't have solidity in it at all. And therefore he said, what the heck? It is like whatever you feel, and when you go deeper and deeper and deeper and see, you will not see any heartwood in a plantain tree. That is the simile that the Blessed One is saying. Marichukupama Sanya. I'm sorry, that's about the perception. So volition, the Blessed One says, it's a plantain. There is no core in a plantain tree. So that is because all what we see is in our volitional activities, just appearing and disappearing on. So this volitional activity, this appearing and disappearing nature although the practitioner see in that manner, if you are not practicing, then you are hooked onto it. The Blessed One says, in the law of dependent origination, whenever you have mental volition, that mental volition is only creating your consciousness. So from a tree where there is no core, where there is no heartwood, we are trying to create a mind. We are trying to create a consciousness. So the entire existence is therefore is so fragile. And that is why for us, the Blessed One says, bring your attention to the present moment. Bring your attention to the present place of yourself and don't do anything. Just simply keep observing. When you keep observing, what you simply do is, you don't do any physical volitions. There are no verbal formations. There is no mental volitions. So all these things gradually will stop. Once it stops, then you will stop gradually creation of consciousness. When the creation of consciousness stops, then you will see what is already prepared, what is already formed, what is already conditioned is appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. And if you keep observing that continuously, it is not only what is there is appearing and disappearing, you can also observe the observing object disappears and observing mind also disappears. So, and when you stop your mental activities, mental volitions in that manner, it will come to a point, everything will burst off and all conditions, things will be dissolved. And when you have such an experience, that's a moment. That's a mind moment, thought moment, where all your formations have come to still. But it will start again, but you have the ability. So therefore, we have an ability to stop this dependent origination, to come out of dependent origination. And that is why the Blessed One says, don't do anything. Mindfulness means being, learning the art of not doing something. Learning the art of non-reaction. Sankara means we are reacting. When you don't react, then the mind is not created. If the mind is not created, things will start gradually reversing. So may this talk help you to understand what is happening in our intentional activities, and also understand better your experiences about walking and sitting practice, and may it lead to advancement of your practice further and further. Blessings of the Triple J.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
All right. Now we can take few minutes for any discussion point you may have.
Okay, I have something. Lately, I've been going to Bhante Rakita's program. I've been going for a while anyway. So I made so what happens is usually I do 1 hour or maybe a little bit less than 1 hour walking, and then it's time for Bhante Rakita's program. So I go sit. So the program started, it's a Dhamma sermon basically. And I just sit there and I'm technically just being mindful, let's say. But I never really hear that sermon. And then usually Rakita Bhante is asking questions later about, what was in the sermon and questioning you and this and that. So one day he's questioning me, and then I said, I don't know anything that you said, because I couldn't answer any of his questions. Anyway, so he's like, now he's been on to me, and saying that, I'm not aware of what's happening, and, I'm sleeping during the sitting time. So he's been like on me for this sort of like, he said that I should be aware while he's doing the sermon and this and that. I should remember everything that he's saying and this and that. I don't particularly want to, or I don't know. I don't really particularly like, I like going there and sitting. I don't really particularly care if there's a sermon there and if I listen to everything. So I guess there's two viewpoints. One is, should I actually listen to that sermon actively, or should I just sit down and do nothing? So that's my question.
Okay. When Bhante said that you are sleeping, ball is in your court to say, no, I was not sleeping. This is what I was observing. So then, yeah. So if you had things that you were observing, it is beyond the contact of the ear. Your attention is either in the body or your attention is in the mental process, and you're experiencing something. And I'm aware of that experience. Or you would have mentioned the process. Say you were not observing anything. You didn't know what was happening. Say, for example, basically. And if you don't know what was happening, but you were sitting so perfect, then you should be able to give the process up to that stage. So this is what happened to me. So I just allowed it to happen.
Easier said than done to explain that to Bhante. Anyway, he thinks I'm sleeping.
Yeah. He's giving me an opportunity to open up a talk, open up a discussion. So
yes.
Yes, because even what has happened to me is when I go for sermons, those days, I start sitting, and since it is happening at the moment, I am repeating the words that the Bhante is repeating in my mind. And gradually my attention comes to the body. And after that, I am out of the talk. I am in my body. Right? So sometimes certain things that were mentioned in the talk, I remember. And the others mean most of the time I'm in the body, but I'm able to tell what is happening. So if you had done that, then he would have taken you to another layer of the discussion.
I will try, but it's not easy to explain this to Bhante. He definitely thinks I'm sleeping. So we'll see. I'll try.
Yeah. It has to be your experience. You will have to be firm with what you are saying.
I actually don't like to confront Bhante. Like, it's not even worth my time. I just said, okay. It's like, okay, if I'm sleeping, I'm sleeping then. Not even worth the argument.
Non-reactional.
But okay, yeah. But the point is that I don't have to do what he says, so I'm okay with that. Which
yeah.
Okay, good. Howdy, everyone's at night.
Everyone's at. Everyone's at night, Puta.
Yeah, so I'm asking night. I think the last couple of weeks I talked to Swami Hans about like how I've been like gasping for breath. So I've kept on doing that, and recently I've I know I'm starting to settle to that gasping of the breath as like a sort of like a refuge, because so what's it's been doing is like it's making me more mindful. So every time I gasp, like no, I wouldn't say every time I gasp, but like the more I do it, the more and more I've been becoming more mindful, like at work or whatever I'm doing at home and stuff. So like there are glimpses I experience where like I'm like fully aware of like what I'm doing, whether I'm like doing something at work or at home. So yeah, I just wanted to report that part of it. That's about it, Sanoji.
Good. No, that's a very fine layer of physical and mental activity. And you just take that opportunity to be more mindful and keep your mind sharper, and which you are doing since you are not reacting to it. And when it comes to the stage, just you have got to be patient. You will not have immediate results, and
Yeah.
there is no tangible result as well. Only thing is you become more non-reactive.
Yeah.
So good. Keep it up.
Thank you. Yeah. Terima kasih.
Avasar Bante.
Yes, sir.
How are you, Bante?
Good. Doing perfect. In Anuradhapura, very dry, very bright.
Sounds
very,
good.
Very windy.
Sounds good, Bante. Thanks for your time teaching us.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. All right. Is it time to share merits?
Okay.
Yeah. And who did last time?
I think it was me last week.
Right. So we will give it to Kusal this time, because I don't think Kusal has done.
No, it's new to me.
Yeah. So let me open it up.
Thank you, Bante.
Yes. Screen. Yes. Can you see it now?
Yes, Bante.
Yeah. So we have practiced for 1.5 hours and listen to a talk and discuss about our experiences. With that, we have created tremendous amount of positive energies. We can share it with the rest of the world, especially devas and all living beings who rejoice these activities, and any departed relatives who is waiting to receive merit from us. May all those departed relatives receive this merit, especially our friend Alex. And then with that intention in our mind, determination in our mind, I will request Kusal to chant these verses in English.
May all devas share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all other beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all the beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect this dispensation. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, Having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly, I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly, I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dhamma, to be seen here and now, timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought, heedlessly, I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practiced well, the incomparable. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives and may they be happy.
By the
By the
grace of
grace
this,
merit, by the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise up to the time I attain Nibbana.
sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thiruvan Saranai, everybody.
Everyone says, "Sir."
Thank you,
Everyone
Bhante.
say.
Ante, can I talk to you?